And he's muted.
I think I might be unmuted now. No, seriously, Joe said before that this would go perfectly, and this has been.
He's muted again.
Welcome to Hull and Back, everybody. Latest episode sponsored by the Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Fish and Chips in Hull. Take it away, Nathaniel.
I'm scared to press anything. It's still playing in my ears, the intro. But, well, shall we just move rapidly on to the football, because it's been a pretty mixed week. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and this is Ant. Ant, get talking. Let's move on quickly.
Right, what do you want me to talk about? Give me a subject.
Well, let's start with a positive, that we beat Rotherham and we finally got those early goals, 2 in the first 9 minutes and 3 in the first 20 minutes. So we should be beating teams like Rotherham, but we don't tend to do it in that sort of emphatic fashion. So how impressed were you with the performance? Very. I felt like we've been saying for a long time, and I think the fan base has been saying for a long time, that one of those performances were due. I feel we all felt like Rotherham could be the game and probably the best chance to have that kind of performance. But being City fans, we were quite, apprehensive, because we know what we're like against the teams that we should be beating. But no, it's nice that this season we seem to have turned a corner in that sense, where the sides we usually struggle against we're tending to put aside. And it was nice to see us properly brush aside a championship team with ease. We looked absolutely polar opposite to where Rotherham are in terms of, squad depth and quality on the pitch. And I think we'll be disappointed that we conceded a goal. I think Rosini will probably be livid that we didn't come away with that with a clean sheet.
Oh, he wasn't happy.
No, I can't imagine he was. It was very, very soft goal to concede as well. But the attacking play was spectacular. And I feel like we're starting to get to a rhythm now in games, even to Watford in an extent, where we are controlling the games more in a more sort of impactful way, rather than just having possession for possession's sake. We're actually starting to probe and create decent chances now, and some of our attacking players are really getting into some good areas. I like the way that Delap's sort of evolving as well. He's dropping deeper and just making marauding runs, and it's very good to watch. So yeah, it's very positive. I'm glad that we got that result, and it was a promising start to what should have been a very promising week, but didn't end that way, did it?
Mm-hmm. Will, I mean, you said how in the last home game against Huddersfield, that late goal sort of just collapsed into your seat in relief, but this was completely different, because that early few goals meant, I mean, I was just enjoying the match after the first 18 minutes, or for the next 18 minutes after a great start. So it was just nice to sort of just know, unless we, mess it up really badly, that we've got the win in the bag.
I was worried going into the game that it would be another Huddersfield performance where Rotherham came for the point, essentially, and put everyone back and tried to keep us out. Because, to be fair to Huddersfield, it near enough worked. It took a last-gasp winner for us to actually finally get the goal. But you could tell from the moment they were out, to be fair, Rotherham didn't look like they were going to ever sit back, even in the first 5 minutes before they conceded. They never looked like a side that was going to sit back, to be fair to him. But as soon as, obviously, the first goal going in was great, but as soon as Philogene just turned into the filthiest footballer in the known universe, it just felt like a nice, comfortable evening was afoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they sort of pushed on a little bit, Rotherham, when they were 4-0 down, 4-1 down. But, Joe, it was quite comfortable in the end, wasn't it?
Absolutely. First of all, always a pleasure to be invited on. And to your question, Nathaniel, yeah, it was a great evening. So cold. I had a long sleeve top on, the jacket that Will's got on, not the exact one, but my one.
This would probably drown you, the size of this.
2 gilets, my big coat, scarf, snood, 4 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of gloves. Still absolutely frozen solid.
And it would get colder.
It would only get colder. Watford was a lot worse. But the Rotherham game was just remarkable. Tyler Morton in great form. Twine off the mark was great. Philogene was saucy. And the ability that bloke possesses is just remarkable. And like Ant said, the only sore thumb amongst an evening full of very healthy fingers was the clean sheet or lack thereof.
Yeah, I mean, before we lament what happened in the Watford game regarding Philogene, that first goal he scored against Rotherham just shows, I mean, it's a bit of a contradiction, but how confident he is at the moment in his game and sort of expressing himself. Because, I mean, in his interviews, he's not that expressive. So clearly he likes to do his talking on the pitch, which is a proper cliche, which it's nice to actually see him do that. So, and that back heel, how did you react to that?
I mean, to be fair, from where I was sat, I struggled to see what happened. It wasn't until I saw the replays on the screen that I was like, wow. I mean, that's the kind of goal.
Took you by surprise.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Because that's the kind of goal you only do if you're on the top of your game. You don't even try that if you're not confident. And like we say, he's absolutely flying this season. And to have the arrogance to pull something off like that, it just shows what kind of player he is. I feel like that. You know, given his goal contributions in every single game that we've had so far, and he's still only getting better. His ceiling's so high, like his potential is ridiculous, and if he can keep working on his game and keep improving on all the other aspects, like sometimes decision making needs to improve, but other than that, he's an absolute joy to watch, and I feel like that he's going to be one of those players we'll look back on in, you know, a few years' time, especially if he moves on to someone, you know, a big Premier League side or somebody like that. We're going to look back and think, wow, as if we had that player here. Similar to probably, you know, how we do with Bowen at the minute as well. It's one of those players who's going to live in the memory for the vast majority of the fan base for a long time. So let's enjoy him while he's here.
Yeah. Will or Joe, thoughts on Philogene's performance? And it was good to see him get 2 goals. He's now a top goal scorer. But are we too reliant on him?
I think it's hard to say because some games he will try and do everything himself and won't, and he can be too greedy when there's players who we could easily pass to. So I think he needs to open up a bit more so we're not relying on him too much. But when he's got that ability at this level, why wouldn't you rely on him for the most part as well?
Yeah, I mean, because he's at our club, you know, we may as well use him. That's what good players are for. But I mean, he didn't score against Watford, and we lost that game. And he was the main sort of attacking threat against Rotherham. But another player who's finally broken his duck, Scott Twine, definitely having the best of Twines at the moment. Joe, you're saying yes. Thoughts on Twine in the last 2 games, 2 goals?
Well, I've mentioned this when I've been on here before, and I've mentioned it on other platforms as well. When Scott Twine first came over and clapped the fans in the away end before kickoff and his debut at Blackburn, I said to my friend who I was with, I said to her, Scott Twine's going to be the player who takes us to the Premier League. And since then, when things haven't gone his way and things like that, she's just sort of laughed in my face. But when I saw her at half-time at the Rotherham game, it was beautiful to just say, I told you he'd come good. And then the goal against Watford as well, because he's got in those positions consistently, and it just hasn't fallen to him. That Coventry game, he was in those right positions that he scored from against Watford and against Rotherham as well. So many times it just didn't bounce for him, or there was a deflection or a block or something like that. And he's got 2 on the bounce now, so I think his confidence will be sky high. He's been dressed up as Petr Cech on what I assume was a Christmas night out.
He went on the Christmas night out, this weekend.
Yeah, they had the coach there waiting, and I suppose it's the only week they've got without any midweek games. So
it's the last week before the Christmas period where they've got a load without the 3 game weeks.
So they all, like Xavier Simons, rocked up when the players arrived the other day. Which was an odd one to see. So I thought that confirms it's Christmas night out then. And I think back to Twine, his confidence will be through the roof. He'll be loving life now. He's got his 2 goals. He's got a couple of assists under his belt as well. All that eludes him is that free kick, which will come. Believe it will come.
Well, really, it's just the whole team needs a goal from a corner or a set piece. Free kick, because we've still not scored one all season. We almost did with the penalty, which came from a corner, but not quite. But yeah, in terms of, that sort of adage about trying to get, just any goal to break your duck, he couldn't have had an easier one, but then maybe he needed that so he has the confidence to score the one against Watford. So it's probably the easiest goal anyone could ever really score. I can't think of any other ones City have had where it's been so close to the line.
I've seen City players miss from there. So
0.99 xg that was.
Well, yeah. Well, there's a 0.01 there.
Didn't Grzycki once miss an easy tap in like that?
Probably.
Yeah, not on the goal line.
What I was thinking of was Aaron McLean, to be honest.
But we know Traore's has had his go.
Yeah, pretty much. But he wouldn't have missed that, I don't think.
I think Twine personally has steadily improved game on game since he came. I know he's not. Free kicks, obviously, that's what everyone bigged him up at. And to be fair, his statistics suggested he should be, but he's not showing it. He's not been able to show it as of yet. But his all-round game, especially off the ball, like the Watford. I know we'll get onto Watford, but in that Watford game, THAB was making so many runs, and what it was Twine constantly moving about, creating space for him, and moving defenders away from him. Was why THAB was able to make so many fantastic runs forward, and it's his movement off the ball that impresses me so much. And now, from the moment he scored, his confidence just seemed to change. You could tell he looked so much more confident on the ball whenever he got it. And he's unlucky he didn't score 2 against Watford as well, because Philogene got in the way, unfortunately.
Can I just say as well, before the Watford game, I saw Scott going in as we were waiting to see if Tom Ince would get his head out his own backside and notice there were people who wanted him to sign stuff before the game. Didn't happen. But Scott Twine walked past us and I said to him, you're getting another goal today, Scott. I can feel it. He goes, I hope so. But he's so I'm taking the credit, kidding. He's so much better through the middle, I think.
Infinitely.
He can get more involved and stuff like that. And another thing about him growing game on game that you said, Will, he had such an injury hit season last season with Burnley. This is his first consistent run of games as a championship player, where he's played. How many games has he played on the bounce?
He's played pretty much any time he's fit. He started, hasn't he? I don't remember him coming off the bench very often.
Since Tufan's injury, he's definitely pretty much played every game. I think maybe about
he's
one.
Played 17 games on the bounce since he signed. Only 3 of those were coming off the bench.
Yeah, so clearly Rossini rates him in.
They're earlier than ones.
And, with his name, he was very well knitting things together against Watford.
Stop.
Like thread and twine. You get it. You get it. But I think he's been improved a whole lot. And you're talking about being over-reliant on Philogene if we can get the best out of him, because when we were talking about Twine and Philogene signing in the summer, Philogene sort of exceeded expectations. Twine's just starting to reach them. But allegedly they were as good as each other, really, when they came in. So if we can get him, keeping on this run of form, especially as Tufan hasn't really been in the team as much, I think that's certainly positive. So anything else about the Rotherham game? Just I guess the main thing was that we moved into the playoffs, and that's where we still are. So playoffs, that's good. That's where we want to be.
Obviously.
I think we should have scored more against Rotherham, to be honest. I know I was so happy that we finally got a big win, which we've deserved at home for ages at this point under a senior. Because Sheffield Wednesday should have been that game, and they somehow managed to score twice. It kind of ruined it a little bit. But that game could have been 6 or 7-1 easy. And also, I found it. I was so disappointed that if they were going to score the one, that it wasn't the Jungle Cat himself, Tom Eves, who got that one. Because I had a feeling if he had scored, the home fans would have cheered more than the Rotherham ones.
I would have been one of those cheering.
Me too.
I love Tommy so much. That's why I've got Leo to do me a copy of the painting he gave to Tom.
Also, I am still traumatized by Jacob Greaves not scoring his goal. That run was immense, and Shep's just said it as well. But I'm devastated that didn't go in.
If that had gone in, if that had gone in, and I was having this discussion with Mark at the football on Saturday, if that had gone in, would that have been better than Damien Delaney's?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just because of
absolutely,
how far
100%.
It
would have been the best goal scored at that stadium, in my opinion.
Should have passed it to the lap.
He should have done, to be fair, but you can't.
Everyone
0-0.
Everyone had a go at Greaves for not passing it to the lap. It's like, why would he? He's just passed 6 Rotherham players. He's cut inside in the box. Why would he not have a shot?
But he also should have shot anyway by this point. Instead of putting it back onto his left. He could have just
kicked it in the goal.
Why would he not shoot in that scenario?
He should have put it in the goal hole.
He's still not scored a goal at home.
No.
He has. He scored against Reading last year.
Oh, did he? Yeah, he did, didn't he? Forget that.
Yeah. I was there. We were just talking about Reading, and just about that. We've beaten Huddersfield and Rotherham now. So glad we don't have to play Reading. I hate them more than Huddersfield.
So. They lost too easily today. The protest.
Was a good protest. I'll have my rant about the FA Cup later.
Well, you could have it now if you want. Yeah, you've said Birmingham.
We'll get Watford out of the way.
Okay.
I'll wait and hope your internet doesn't die, Will.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've been having problems with that. So we lost to Watford. Pretty poor start. I thought the first 25 minutes, Watford had a few sort of crosses in. Kayembe had 3 sort of chances. 2 of them blazed over the bar. Scored a good goal. Very powerful pass to Alsop. And then I think pretty much from there, Watford looked a good team, but we sort of controlled the game and had more chances. So some people saying, were we unlucky? Did we deserve a win or a draw? I thought we definitely deserved the win. But Ant, what were your thoughts on it? Because it has been much more competitive than the last 3 home games.
Yeah, I felt from where I was sat and what I saw that Watford knew exactly what our strengths were, what we were going to try and do in terms of style of play and where they could hurt us. And I felt like their pressing was a real issue for us at times, and we struggled to really get into clear goal scoring opportunities for me. But I mean, we peppered the goal. We ended up with 22 shots on them, but the amount of shots that probably were from the edge of the box or just sort of. I mean, there was even the one that hit Philogene. I mean, there were no real sighters, barring the chance that Twine had for me. But I feel like Watford, their 2 centre halves were brilliant all game. I thought Porteous and obviously Hoyt, they were fantastic at stopping. Philogene especially struggled. I think in the first half he grew into it a bit more. But no, I thought it was one of those games where we were comfortably in control, and I wouldn't say Watford were the better side. But it, they were definitely worth a point for me. But like we had the chances to win the game, so it was one of those where, unfortunately for us, some bizarre goal where the centre half just decided to lob our keeper from the halfway line and it works. Was what happened, which we kind of asked. That mind threw me back to like when the Southampton player Wanyama did it. It was like one of those games where it was settled by a wonder goal when realistically, there was better chances in the game for both sides to score from. So, but it was a good, enjoyable game. I mean, it was 2 sides. I mean, Watford are in form. They lost 1 in 8 or something before coming to us. Now they're only 3 points behind us. So they're a side that's on the march really, and they're going about it quietly. Not a lot of people are sort of picking up on Watford's form at the minute, but they're a good side, and I thought it was a really enjoyable game of football. But no, yeah, definitely a bit of a sickener to lose like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it was a better game because obviously you'd rather just steamroll every team, but watching Rotherham and Huddersfield, it was refreshing to see a team try to get more than a point out of the game. I guess I wish it hadn't, but
yeah, I think Rotherham did try, and it died.
They're just that bad. I think they're just not very good, so they can't really do it. But so was it just sort of a case of poor, form and luck in sort of key moments with the penalty and then that goal? Will
pretty much. I think it was very similar to the Southampton game in that we were probably the better side. We just edged it as being the better side, but we didn't take our chances, and Southampton did in that game, and it was a case of the one proper clear-cut chance Watford got the put in, and then Hoyt hoys it over Allsop's head. Yeah, but we should be scoring a penalty. Doesn't matter who. I'm surprised Philogene took it. I would have thought someone like if Delap. I thought maybe Delap is a striker, just hammer it. Or Twine is good at set pieces supposedly. You think
Twine's he took penalties for MK Dons. He scored lots in that season just 2 years ago.
And this is the question: who is our penalty taker?
It's you.
If Toofan
usually, but if he's not on the pitch. But to me, like from where I was sat, Delap wanted it. Philogene grabbed the ball and was like, "No, I'm having it." Which you're going to.
Coyle was the one who decided who took it.
Coyle had to sort of settle it out. But for me, that's when the worry comes in. I felt like we was going to miss it because whenever you see a player or a team, and they have these moments where there's two people who want the penalty and they have like this little discussion and this, kind of little bicker about it kind of thing, they always end up missing it because I don't know. It must disrupt you.
The last time I remember that happening, it was McGuinness and Wilkes, and McGuinness won the fight and absolutely hammered it into the top corner. Yeah,
well, obviously it doesn't happen every time, but for the vast majority of the time, from what I've seen, players tend to. I don't know if it messes with your focus or, I just had a feeling we were going to miss that one. It was a good save. It wasn't a bad penalty. It was just a good save. He just guessed the right way. He had a 1-3 chance and he got it right. But no, I feel like we need to have obviously a designated penalty taker when Toufan's not on the pitch because then it stops obviously players just wanting to claim them kind of thing because you've got sort of that authoritarian. Well, no, because he's meant to be taking it kind of thing.
If Philogene had been the one fouled, I wouldn't have minded that because that's a common thing if you're the one fouled. But he wasn't. It was Greaves that was fouled. I actually wish Greaves had taken it now that happened.
Because it's a very different sort of thing. Philogene took it because he's the top goal scorer and he's in good form. But penalty taking form doesn't really come into it. It's just that psychological thing, really. It's not really a skill thing because they can all kick a football. They're players. So, I would have liked Twine to take it because he's taken more in his career.
And do we think Allsop could have done better?
Joe, I'll go to you on this one.
First one, I think he's unsighted. The second one, you can say it, but it's the way we play, so I'm not too bothered.
From where I'm sat, it looked like he could just put his hands up and punch that away. But from
where I'm sat, it looked like it was going over.
Yeah, from the replay, it looks like it might just be a bit higher.
From where I was sat, right behind the goal, it looked as though it was going over right until the last second. But it also looked as though when it started to dip in, Allsop was in a position to put his arm up and save it. But having seen replays and stuff like that, Allsop's getting nowhere near it for me. You can't really blame him. He wasn't that far out of his goal either. People making out as if he's on the halfway line who took the shot. He was on the penalty spot, just a little bit past the penalty spot. So it's not like he's miles out of his goal either. He's still in his box, but it's just Wesley, who saw him just slightly off his line, went for it, meant it, and in it went. So that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you lose games to wonder goals like that. We can't really complain. It's the way we play.
And it was a sloppy way we lost the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand why Allsop turns round and screams at Alfie Jones, but
apparently Alfie Jones told him to leave it, from what I've seen.
Right.
I'll be honest, if Alfie Jones has said that, I don't know how he's noticed it's going over from his
I don't know why. If Alfie Jones says it, surely as a keeper, you just don't care. And you go with your gut if you think it's going in.
Safety first.
Regardless, screw what anyone else thinks. You do what's best to stop it going over that line.
I don't think he was even I don't think he was even particularly having a go. I think it was just frustration, probably from conceding such a goal, and that happens. People have decided, he's having a go. He's blaming everyone else. Sack him, get Ingram back in. It's like, no, stop.
But it's like when Ingram was dropped, he didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Allsop also hasn't necessarily done anything wrong.
If anything, he's improved us.
Well,
it's a funny thing with Allsop because he's won us a lot of points this season, I feel like. But recently, the Swansea game and then the Watford game, you could argue the goals we've conceded have been his fault. So, I mean, goalkeepers are like a football player anyway. You're going to go through spats of form. And the thing that Allsop brings us more than just his goalkeeping ability is how he adds to our possession game. That's why he's in the side above Ingram, because him with the ball at his feet is brilliant. Like the goal we score against Watford's because Allsop's cool under pressure on the Watford press and passes it around them, and we get it to Christian into Delap, and then off he runs. But it's one of those. Like, there's going to be games where your goalkeeper should do better. Does that mean that I think he should be dropped for Ingram? I don't think so. Should we go for another goalkeeper in January? Also, I don't think so. I just think that's a bit mad considering how good Allsop's been beforehand. I just feel like a lot of people have forgotten some. I mean, he made some really good saves against Watford as well. So
yeah, you think that his debut, Leeds game, phenomenal. The very next game at Stoke, phenomenal. Won man of the match that game, and he's been consistently good. So, and it was hard on Ingram to drop him, yeah, but Rosenior definitely signed Allsop thinking he was going to be our number one because of how good his distribution is. And it's worked, clearly.
Yeah, I think there's only really been one goal where I've been disappointed, and that was the second one at Swansea, but this one against Watford. I'm not even sure he could have got to it, even if he'd gone for it, because it was right in the top corner. It wasn't just lobbed over him and bounced in. It was sort of really well sort of pinpointed. So, yeah, I think, and you're right, the frustration because we controlled the game and then we were trying to win the game. We should have been winning through the penalty, and then we end up not getting anything out of it. But not really time to panic. I mean, and you said it could have been a better week, but fortunately, the results elsewhere went our way, so we've still got 2 points between us and 7th. That's not much at this point of the season, but we're still chugging along pretty nicely.
If someone had said to all of us that we'd be in the top 6 in December, we'd have all been absolutely ecstatic.
Absolutely.
And that's what we are.
Well, yeah, we're 19, 20 games in now, and we're where we want to be.
Yeah,
and we're not the finished article, which is the thing. We've got January to come, where I imagine we've got 2 or 3 more players coming in. The more of the players that Rosenior wants that come in, I think the better we'll get, because, like we say, we're still in a transition from the previous era into this one, and I think in the next couple of transfer windows, hopefully he gets his contract signed this week, so that can be confirmed. Next couple of transfer windows, we kind of, obviously depending on what league we're in, that's the genuine thing now, because we're in the top 6. You can discuss that. It's, the more it becomes the Liam Rosenior side, just the better we'll become. You can see that now, because I don't think he's actually made a bad signing, barring Ebuwe last season. Maybe.
I was going to say Ebuwe.
And
I feel like the way he hyped
because he knew Ebuwe. Yeah, he knew him, and I
he
think
let him down.
His attitude was wrong. Yeah.
We were saying off air before we went live, weren't we, Nathaniel, that Aliar and Cynic will be the last 2 of the pre-Rosenior and pre-Rosenior era of Adrian's ownership that get moved on. And
I was asked this question after the Watford game, right, by a Watford fan. I'm going to ask you guys it because it was a really interesting question that made me think. If we were to get an offer from, say, Turkey or abroad or someone for Tufan, and it was like 2-3 mil, something like that, would you let him go in January? Because I think
at this current moment, yes. At this current moment, because in my opinion, the last few games he's played when he's come back from injury, he's not looked at it.
Way off it.
He's looked well off it since he came back from injury.
And he will easily be one of our highest earners. Yeah, and he's one of our highest earners to me. Yeah. And I feel like
at this current moment in time, absolutely, I'd let him go. And I hate saying that because I really like him, but based on current form and the players we've currently got playing, I'd be very tempted to let him go for a couple.
Because you could easily get if we offloaded Aliar, Cynic, and Tufan, you could easily get between 5 to 10 mil for all 3 of them together, and that's 2 or 3 really good Championship players you can bring in.
Yeah, or at least just one really good in January. Yeah, yeah,
but we need realistically a very decent left back, don't we? At the very minimum, and then I would say another striker, because Connolly doesn't seem to have fully recovered yet, and we don't know what his injury record's going to be. So obviously, if we lost the lap, you'd fear for how good we'd be in an offensive sense. So I do think we need another striker.
This time last year in that situation, and I'd be shouting academy names at you, but they're not even playing particularly well now. with the 21s. Whether it's because a lot of those players are up training with the first team quite regular and stuff like that, I'm not sure. But they've not hit those same heights yet. There's been a high turnover. A lot of the West Yorkshire lads coming in, Henry Sandak coming in, etc. And this time last season, I'd have been shouting. If you'd have said that, I'd have been shouting Jim Sims at you and stuff like that. But yeah. Oscar recall is not the one if we're in that situation.
No,
let's be honest.
No.
He's not had a good season.
People need to accept he's gone. I know it's only on loan, but he probably is never playing for us again.
Definitely.
Well, I don't know. Mets might not buy him if he continues the way he is.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he might not. That doesn't mean
someone would. Someone in Portugal would.
He's only played 5 games and not scored. I mean, he's played more than but him and Tete have played 7 games together since leaving, and no goals between them.
What's to say that wouldn't have happened?
I think it cost Mets 3-point-something million for the both of them as well, so they'll be quite mad.
What's to say he wouldn't have played often here? He might have got injured here and hardly played. He never really seemed to fit in the way Rossini wanted to play in the first place. I know we've missed chances he probably would have put away, but he never really fit into how we want to play.
Definitely. Going back to the two-fan thing, I wouldn't move him on purely because you've got to remember Twine's only a loan. And in January, we're going to lose Traore to AFCON. So I think once he's a bit fitter and he's played some more games, I'd chuck him in the 21s, build his fitness up. They play on Friday in the Premier League Cup. I'm not sure what the rules are with first teamers in that, but then they've got...
I know you can play first teamers, can't you? But it's like 1 or 2 you can play at most.
They've got a league home game where the rules are basically do what you want later this month, just before the Christmas run-in. So could chuck him in there against Sheffield United, which will be a very, very tough game, but builds his fitness up, that kind of thing. And like I say, we're going to lose Traore in January. Twine's only on.
But we've got Slater back.
So, but see, positionally though,
I see Slater being next to Morton with Seri gone as well. I think he plays Slater fairly back.
Or will he push Morton more into what Seri can do and have Slater more mobile? Who knows? That's all to come, I suppose.
Well,
we'll find out when it happens.
Yeah, he's refusing to play Connolly out wide, and Seri and Traore are gone. So you'd have Slater and Morton. You'd have Twine in the middle, or Tufan. Then Twine would be out wide, and then you'd have Lakilo. But the thing is, with Lakilo and Aaron Sinek, their fitness isn't enough, and you'd pretty much not have anyone on the bench if you did get rid of Tufan. I think in the summer, think about it. But at the moment, I think especially because, as you mentioned, Traore going and Seri, because you could have Traore back there in number 8. I think
best
probably
game Traore played was as an 8 against, was it Preston or Plymouth?
Preston.
Yeah, that's the best game he's played for us, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Paul's saying we should get about 3 signings in January and then keep Tufan. Sinek and Amiel can move on. Absolutely. I don't know whether we can sell Sinek.
I disagree on Lakilo there. I think he looks all right.
I like Lakilo.
I think people wouldn't be so harsh on Lakilo if his opposite winger wasn't so good.
Yeah.
We're comparing him to someone who's just out of this world. And I feel like Lakilo, he's had quite a disrupted start to the season as well with injury and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's now just starting to get a bit of it. If we can get him a nice, good, consistent run of games, I feel like he's not far off a goal either. He's starting to cut in and shoot a lot more. I feel like he's gaining confidence off what Philigine's doing and going, all right, yeah, fair, I can do that as well. And he was close a couple of times against Watford. And I like his build-up play with Christie down that side as well. They seem to work better together. But no, I do like Lakilo. I think there's definite promise there. And we've got to remember, he's a new signing. He's still acclimatising to this league and everything. So, I like what I've seen from him so far.
Yeah. He looks a solid, fairly reliable player. Not amazing, but I like
what I was going to say is on losing players or the lack of, Delap and Serifan managed to get through the yellow card, the timeline. So now all the yellow cards have been voided, and we won't worry about them missing games, at least for the foreseeable at the moment, in case one of them gets sent off, which would be typical after all
that. Can I do a mini rant?
Go for it.
Maybe like 10 seconds. Oh, okay. Well, what else shall we talk about then, Will?
Go on.
We'll
Okay.
have you around.
So yeah, I agree. Christie and Aquilo, they look pretty good together. Christie's a good attacking player last season, really good. This year, for whatever reason, defensively, I don't trust him at all. About 5 or 6 times, easily let a cross go in, and one of them they scored. I think, and that's not the only time he played against Watford. I thought he was poor defensively, and I've seen him against Plymouth. And defensively, I just don't think. I think he's just gone. I don't see him defend at all. Because you watch the first 1 or 2 times, he lets a cross in, and you think, okay, hopefully he can get the next one, and then it happens another 3 or 4 times. So dodgy. Coyle, I prefer Coyle now.
Yeah,
he's lost. He's definitely lost a little couple of yards of pace, hasn't he, from his injury?
In that Watford game, their main threats did come down our right. Like in that first half, the amount of times I managed to get into so much space on the right hand side, and it was because Christie was just looked out of it for a lot of it. I agree. He doesn't look the same, and I know we're playing Coyle at left back at the moment, but I think Coyle hasn't got the pace that Christie supposedly has. But I feel much more secure with Coyle playing in those positions.
No, I feel like Coyle does have Christie's pace at the minute. I feel like since his injury, Christie's lost a couple of yards of pace easy. I think, obviously, it's easy to forget that Christie's probably... Is he the oldest player we've got? I think he is.
Seri,
the oldest player in the side.
Seri, definitely.
Let me Google it.
Must be Seri.
So his recovery is going to be a lot sort of longer than most players, and I feel like what he had last season, it was a 6-month injury. Like, it ruled him out from January to the rest of the season, and them kind of injuries at that age do have sort of long-term effects on the players when they come back from that injury, and I feel like Christie's maybe suffering from that a bit. But what he gives us offensively, he changed the game against Swansea and looked really good against Rotherham. We can't doubt his quality going forwards. Yeah, but maybe there is question marks defensively, and I think if we did have a dabble in the transfer market and got a proper left back to slot in, I would have Coyle on the right hand side above Christie, and have Christie come on off the bench because he tends to do that quite well this season.
I can't believe I agree with that after last year, but yeah.
Also, he's actually our oldest player, then Seri, then Christie.
Oh, goalkeepers don't count. They can play till they're 104.
They're in the prime at 32.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
They're in their prime at 36 nowadays. Because you get
prime at 40.
Like Messi was in, or is he 36 Messi? He's still pretty good.
That famous goalkeeper, Lionel Messi.
I know, but I'm saying even nowadays, even the elite outfield players are still at their peak. Not late 30s, but early 30s. I mean, every time Croatia play a tournament, I think surely they're going to all retire, and they're all still going at like 38.
Yeah, that's true.
Why is playing past your 40s this rare thing? Kids these days have never heard of Stanley Matthews, have they?
Well, see, I feel like the fitness levels and the running you have to do back then, it won't have been as demanding a game.
So why did
you nowadays
play until they were 45?
At the higher levels nowadays, you don't tend to see many players 35 onwards playing week in, week out. Here, I feel like Leicester, Vardy at Leicester, he's even playing one game and missing the next because he's 36 now, I think. So
I just mean the top players. But that's because they're top players, I guess.
No,
yeah,
we don't have any of those.
Michael Owen.
Ballon d'Or, you Philistine.
They just changed their positions, don't they? It's like Rooney just sort of got deeper and deeper as the career went on. He became a CDM before he became a manager. But when they're that good, you can stick them anywhere, can't you? But no, Dean Windass scored at 39 in the Premier League. Not that he was, scored very often in the Premier League, but he did.
137 played 55 games last season.
You mean he scored in the Premier League?
Yeah, that one
goal against Portsmouth that he definitely scored. He scored that goal.
He was credited a goal. Let's say that he didn't score. He was credited a goal.
Tom Eames got credited a goal, but Jared Bowen smashed in from 25 yards against Middlesbrough.
Yeah, came off Eaves.
Eaves, wonderful. That pure volley.
What you mean is it came off of Eaves' gravitational field because it didn't come off Eaves.
Well, it did. I remember that was a very nice game because I was watching it at home, and my cat finally, for like only the 5th time in its whole life, sat on my lap. And then when we scored the equaliser, I shouted so much I scared her off.
And you traumatized it.
Yeah, so I don't think she's been on my lap since in 6 years? 7 years? 4 years?
That was December 2019, wasn't it?
4 years then. I'm not very good at maths.
Before the dark times.
Yeah.
When we still had Bowen.
Talking about old people being rubbish at football, Paul's commented in that Seri looked lost against Watford, and I agree. I thought sort of defensively, a few players got past him too easily again, but that's not really what he's in the team for, I guess.
But I feel like that's because we've tactically, in the last couple of games, we've pushed Morton further up, and Seri's more isolated now. Whereas we played Morton a lot deeper alongside Seri. They were both basically doing the same role. And we've kind of converted Morton to a box-to-box midfielder now. And Seri was on his own quite often. And I feel like he's definitely not got the pace to be a lone midfielder trying to cover the back four. So maybe that's something that we need to try and switch depending on what team we're facing. I mean, against Rotherham, it's probably fine to push Morton up there. But against Watford, maybe let's not leave Seri on his own.
I can't be compared to Seri, Nathaniel, as an old person.
Well, in terms of football,
I mean,
he's still a young man.
Everyone's an old person, even you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're saying that, Will. I'm not even 18 yet.
Well, the fans only what, 4.
Yeah. Enshep says that we got out-muscled against Watford, and we'd like a physical mid.
Well, we're meant to be in for Max Baird, aren't we?
Yeah, that was the rumour. Obviously, in summer, and he got injured, didn't he? So it wouldn't be surprised if he went back in for him.
Yeah, but he came back quicker than everyone thought he was going to, and he's done pretty well, I think, for Derby.
It's true that we probably did get out-muscled against Watford, but it's also helped when the referee doesn't know what a free kick is. Which is, it was nice to go back to having referees in the EFL that don't know what they're doing, but I suppose it's better than having referees that don't know what they're doing in the Premier League, that then have VAR to correct them and then decide, I'm going to keep with the shit decision.
It's basically just confirming. The only difference is that in the EFL, it's not confirmed whether they got it wrong or not, but in the Premier League, it's confirmed that they did get it wrong and then they don't change
I think
it.
I'll take the lack of confirmation personally.
Yeah, it just takes longer for it to be worse.
I like being able to celebrate a goal and celebrate it then when it happens. It's always lovely that.
Yeah. But when we're having to wait every 10 minutes for us to score in the Premier League, when we're up there with the senior bowl,
score that frequently,
challenging at the top of the table in a few years, next year, we'll have to get used to it, I suppose. That's the dream. That's the dream, though, isn't it? But
that is the dream.
I guess we're talking about these players and a few things not working out, but having, not having the squad that Leicester have and still being in the playoffs with a lot with that ceiling still to go to improve. Not every sort of lineup and tactics are airtight, so I'm still fairly happy with how we're doing. Well, I'm delighted, really. It's just a shame we couldn't have got that buffer to sort of push into 5th. If we won, we would have gone against above West Brom. So, anything else to mention about Watford? Or...
I was just going to say, Nathaniel, on a contrasting note to that, that's something you're very happy with. Something no one is happy with. How out of Eastleigh, Reading, Newport, Barnet, Mason,
you've stolen this from me, you twat!
We end up with Birmingham at home!
Right.
Time to beat Rooney again, though.
In the FA Cup draw, that we was one of the last 6 teams there. The last 6 balls of that draw were Hull City, Birmingham City, Newport or Barnet, Eastleigh or Reading would have been Eastleigh, Maidstone United or Stevenage or Port Vale. And we get the fucking championship team at home. For fuck's sake, can we have
not even away
in the FA Cup just once?
Horrible, boring. They should ban it. It's just ban same division matches. Ban them. Boring. I mean, it would completely break the competition, but
No, they should.
That will be picked by broadcasters, but we see that twice a season already.
Yes.
Sunderland Newcastle, that is incredible. That I love.
Yeah, because they're out of the divisions of each other. Yeah.
That I love.
What it should be is what they're doing, like also what the FA Cup. One of the things that the FA Cup should do is something that they're doing, like the German Cup, and I think the French Cup do it. Is the lower league side should host the game as well
every time.
Always.
Yeah, because no one really wants them to have it. Have those teams away from home. That's not really what you want from a cup competition, is it? Because the whole point is that you can play at those grounds, and then they have the chance to go to Wembley at the end. So it's not fun for anyone, is it really?
Well, I've done. Thank the Lord, it's not Birmingham away, because I've been to Birmingham away once this season. Been stiff with a 4-hour coach ride there, where it took us an hour to get to Goole, got stuck round Donny, moved less than 2 miles in 40 minutes round Tamworth, then stuck on that long road going into Birmingham, got at the ground at 7:05, couldn't have a McDonald's because the queue was too long, and the pie I had in the ground was
not Hull City Scram.
Not Hull City Scram, not Crumble Scram. So
that's that crumble. No, that was a winner. That made me forget about the game when we had that in the press room after the match. The game didn't matter anymore.
Fun fact: I was supposed to be in Birmingham tomorrow.
Oh, that's the funniest fact I've ever heard.
Yeah,
I'm delighted.
Okay. Well, yeah, I thought it was fun. I enjoyed telling it, and that's more important.
Well, good.
Joe's right. Thank God, at least it's at home. At least it's at home. Because that's
if it's a boring tie, you want it to be at home.
Yeah, so you don't have to waste going away.
Yeah.
Hopefully especially just after Christmas. Especially financially just after Christmas as well. It's just...
We've not won a cup game in like 3 years as well.
And it's the week after we have to go to Hillsborough, and anyone who's going to Hillsborough won't be able to afford another match for 4 years.
They'll have to remortgage their homes and go to food.
No, they'll just have to sell their homes, Ant. No point remortgaging it.
2030, lads. It's been a good innings.
Yeah. Oh, Sheffield Wednesday. Grim. Not as grim as Sheffield United. This is completely not related to anything.
How is it not as grim as Sheffield United? It's equally grim.
Yeah, but they at least won yesterday. Imagine being so bad that you lose 5-0 to Burnley, who hadn't got a home point all year. Sheffield United fans, lol, but also that's horrible. Shall we move on to QPR?
Yeah, I think we should.
So a few weeks ago, we were talking about this being a good opportunity for 3 points, but in typical City fashion, they've now won 2 out of 2, 4-2 against Stoke. It's not. It's just typical. Just that hopefully we can get an easy game.
Aligned itself is what you're trying to say.
That's the thing about the Championship or any division is that yes, you have to play everyone twice, and everyone has to do that, but you don't. Like if you play, like last season when we played QPR at the start, QPR were really good. And then halfway through the season, we beat them 3-0. They're not always the same team. So it'd be nice to have to play every team, even if they're in a lower position, when they're in poor form.
You wish Gareth Ainsworth was still manager.
Of course. That'd be ridiculous from QPR. But we've not to do the hacker for the. We've not lost 2 in a row under Rossini. That's the question. Could we lose again if QPR are in good form, or do we think we'll get back to winning ways?
If we underestimate them,
we could lose again because against what we can play well and lose. I.e., look at the game we've just played.
Yeah,
they are playing much better stuff under this new gaffer. I feel like he's highlighted the 2 players that can make a difference in their team, i.e., Chris Willock and Elias Chair. And he's given them the freedom to properly attack up front, which is something that obviously Ainsworth wouldn't do. And they are starting to play some nicer stuff. I watched their last game and on telly, and they were quite, they play some decent football. They're quite similar to us now. They want to play out from the back and try and press high and that kind of thing. So it'll be a tough game. Certainly a lot tougher than it would have been, like we said, if it was under Ainsworth. But again, with where we are as a team and the standards we've set, we should still be going in there and aiming to win. But the only thing that will stop us is going in there and sort of taking it for granted and thinking that we're just going to waltz in there and win, because obviously in this league has shown that that's not going to happen. So hopefully, our top players, i.e. your Delaps, your Philogines, they're all on form, and we can just sort of end their little mini revival. Keep ours going.
Rosenior won't let them take it for granted, because he won't take it for granted.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the difference with the club at the minute, is Rosenior's standards are so high and so set in stone that, and anything below what's acceptable, and he's fuming, isn't he? So that's a good thing. I think that's probably why we're beating the sides we never used to, i.e. the sides that we should beat, because he's set such high standards this season that the players have got to meet it, or else, you won't be playing.
Mm-hmm. Is it time for the best part of the podcast?
Is this your combined?
What, is it the end? Are we finished?
Yes, it's the end of the podcast. No, it's the combined lineup. Now, before you all say, "Oh, this is awful," I've got to read it out for the audio listeners, our lovely audio listeners. Asmin Begovic in goal, because, Allsop got lobbed and, you can't include him, even though it's his mistake. Whatever his first name is, Parle at left back, because he's got 3 goals. Greaves and Jones and Louis Coyle at right back. Tyler Morton, and then a very attacking lineup. We've got Philogene, Elias Scher, Scott Twine, Chris Willock, and then Liam Delap up front. Thoughts?
I actually agree with that.
Thank you. I mean, you say, actually, I agree with that. Usually people do. I'm pretty good at this. It's been a long time since I've done a very bad one.
I feel like if any side has a left back that's a natural left back, this should always just be in this combined 11 at the minute.
Yeah, because Greaves goes to centre back, doesn't he?
Because we just don't have one, do we?
Will's
very intrigued.
Very
Where's Brian Longman?
Longman plays for Millwall.
Yes,
And
that doesn't normally stop you.
Well, I've not included him. Even when we played Millwall, I couldn't include him because he wouldn't be eligible. So I've got to at least have some kind of rules.
No, I think you've done well there, Nathaniel. Well played.
No, to be fair, I can't disagree with anything. But
it's a
I've
shame
given up
that
at this point.
it's a shame Elias Scher isn't the sitting midfielder.
Stop right now.
Because his name
Thank
is
you very
Chair. It's very good. Very good.
God.
Yeah, so 4 attacking sort of midfield players, and then
that side
Delap
would
up
score
front.
a lot of goals.
And Morton would get forward quite a lot. We probably can win or lose every game like 5-4. But that'd be a good
That's
lineup.
what
I'd be very happy with that.
I was just
That's
going
what
to say,
I
I wanted that.
Yeah, and he's really not got it because we've scored more than 3 goals 4 times in a year, or
Well,
longer than that.
He's offering Liam the new contract, so obviously he's fine with it.
Yeah,
I think the standard of football is a lot more entertaining than
Exactly.
what we've had in previous years. That's what it means.
Better than Shotter.
Paul's not happy. You're not usually good. You put a Huddersfield and Rotherham player in the 11 previous weeks. Well, when I have to talk to fans of the other club, it feels really bad in a game where we might lose, potentially.
To be fair,
to put
against
one in.
for the Rotherham game, even I would say, because we were talking about it,
Yeah,
I would have definitely had forgotten his name now.
Johansson, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
I had someone else.
Yeah, because you're a
So-
mentalist.
Yeah, that's the issue there, I think.
Well, just for a few minutes, I was having a nice time. But yeah, I do deserve that because I honestly, I just forgot he existed. So
And he actually had a decent game against us, despite.
He did,
Yeah,
he made
it's-
some-
we'd have won by a lot more if he won't blame.
yeah.
But
And Ben
that's the
Hamer
point
made
we
some
were
good
making.
saves.
It's not his fault that Rotherham faced 90 shots a game. He can only save so many.
He's the reason it was only 4-1.
Yeah. He's like the Rotherham lad said. The only reason he's not at a bigger team, I think, is because his distribution isn't that good. But in terms of actually being,
He did
a
most of
goalkeeper-
that. He did most of those saves after having his head knocked clean off by Delap's shot for the second goal. Sorry, the third goal.
Good goalkeeper. If he could play with his feet, we could go in for him in January. But he's not going to fit our system, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I know it's not Hull City related, but I mean, I talked about the Euros in the last game, and we've already talked about one draw. Thoughts on the England draw playing Serbia, Slovenia, and Denmark next summer?
It's not a bad draw. But to be fair, in the press room, most of the people in that press room were facing the TV, watching the draw, rather than actually listening to the press conferences. But I mean, when Valerian Ismail says, "Oh yes, we planned to do that second goal," you can't really listen to a word he's actually saying after that point because
feel like he's lying.
Shite.
So what he's trying to say there is that in training, they've been getting one of their goalkeepers to sort of come off his line a bit, and then their centre half lump on the top corner from the halfway line. I think somebody's lying in this situation.
Or
no way that's
even if it does work, I feel like it's just a waste of time. Most players can just kick a ball very far anyway.
It wasn't yesterday.
But
yeah, the Euros draw. Yes, it was a good draw.
Yeah,
it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse.
Well,
it's a tricky group, but it's one that we can definitely get out of. I feel like it could have been. I expected us to get Netherlands. I feel like that they were going to be an as when we was watching it.
No, I expected us to get Italy. I expected us to get Italy.
We always seem to draw Denmark, whether it's qualifying, whether it's group stage. At some point,
we played them in the last 3 tournaments.
We always seem to play Denmark.
We played them the last 2.
Well, it's either Sweden or Denmark.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We play them very often. Them combined.
We always play Scandinavian side. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that Serbia are probably the best team out of the rest of them. I'm not sure Denmark is quite as good, and they've got Jovic and Tadic and Vlahovic and Mitrovic.
The reason that Serbia will be the toughest team is because they're a physical, aggressive side who will try and wind up and antagonise the England team and try and shithouse it a bit. Whereas Denmark will try and play football against us. And they're not the same team they were a couple of years ago, but they're still a good side. The thing is with this group...
Australia can beat them.
In this group, in this Euros, the top 3 teams, it's the top 2 and then the best third place teams go through. If England don't get through that group, they don't deserve to.
Listen, the standard of our squad, we should be winning this tournament, let alone the group.
Yeah. So we could scrape with 4 points and get through. Yeah.
When you look at
with Gareth Southgate as captain, I don't think it's going to happen.
When you look at the tournament as a whole, and you look at the squads of these teams, it's like in Europe, us and France are just better than everyone else at the moment in Europe.
And we just had to play them at the World Cup.
Gareth Southgate's got to make those players click, though.
Well, he's going to be picking Henderson again, so I don't know why I'm getting my hopes up in any sense.
Yeah.
Calvin Phillips.
I think if you look at it, we'll probably play Slovakia or Romania in the next round, and then Spain and maybe Germany. So if things go as
Germany get out the group.
Do,
Germany have got to get out the group first.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
We've got to get past Scotland first.
They probably will get out of the group in their own country.
Normally a joke. Normally that's a joke. They'll get past Scotland. But Germany have been so rubbish. Even Scotland might beat them at a tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm just glad that on our side of the draw, I mean, there is Spain, but we're not playing France until the final if everything goes. But it's months and months away, and the main thing is just to win the first game against Serbia and then move on from there. So
I'm glad they don't have France's group.
Netherlands, Italy, Albania, Spain. That's the group of death, isn't it?
For Albania, yeah.
What draw are you looking at?
What do you mean? That's what it...
When were the Netherlands in a group with Italy, Albania and Spain?
Oh, it's Croatia, Italy and Spain.
Netherlands are in with France and Austria.
Yes, they are. Mind you, that's not that's still difficult.
That's a tough group.
To be fair, I mean, it was the same when you had, Germany, Portugal and France at the at the last Euros. That isn't really a group of death because the third team can go through. only Hungary didn't go through, and so that's expected anyway. So yeah, it sort of breaks it a little bit.
Portugal won the Euros, didn't they, in 2016, getting through as a third place team.
They were genuinely, I think, the worst team to win the Euros I've ever seen.
Yeah, Denmark, when they won it, had to be the worst because they didn't even qualify. But
No,
at the
Portugal.
tournament, they must have been good.
I've watched, sad bastard that I am. I've seen those Denmark games from Euro '92, and I think the race in those matches, Portugal were just unbearable to watch. Greece in 2004 was better to watch.
Yeah, but it's tournament football, got to be sort of tight at the back.
To win it.
What date's the first game?
June the 16th, I want to say, or is that England's first game?
Well, because we'll be on like the third day, won't we, with it being Group C? So that means it starts when all my exams are done. That's lovely.
Good. I think
stick my feet up all day watching.
two of them are evening games.
I'm just glad we're going back to a tournament in the summer.
Yeah,
and in one country, which isn't massive.
And then we've got Saudi Arabia 2034 to look forward to.
Yeah, and the USA, Canada, and Mexico. That's not a small. That's just a small one.
But I think the worst is
a World Cup set in Spain and Portugal and Morocco. Oh, and we're going to have some matches in South America too. Why?
Paraguay and Argentina.
Love it. This will make you all laugh.
I'm saying that. We're saying that, but Britain's also hosting the Euros in 2030.
True, but we are only a very small island.
Yeah. Travel-wise, it'll be easier.
I think what will make you all laugh here is that I think I heard somewhere, I think HITC7 mentioned it, Alfie's video on the corruption for the 2034 World Cup is ace. I think he said that Saudi Arabia have got their eyes on hosting the 2035 Women's World Cup when their women's team...
incredible.
When their women's team was established 18 months ago.
That's really bad.
And there's a good chance in theory, because of rules in Saudi Arabia about what women have to wear, every player would have to be fully, completely clothed from neck to toe as well.
Every player would be in prison for 1,000 years.
Rubbish.
Sports watching.
It didn't make any of us laugh because it's so depressing. But I mean, that is laughable.
You laugh at the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
It makes me slightly depressed. I don't hate Newcastle United, and I like seeing the results. And then I remember, oh no, they're a blood state now. They're a blood state now. Oh god.
I mean, isn't it? Sort of, is it Pride Month or is it just? It
was the Rainbow Laces week.
Yeah.
That was the initiative that was on this weekend.
And it's so pointless considering where the money comes from.
Big proponent of.
Yeah.
Before someone sent a dump truck of money to his house.
To end on a positive note, audio listeners, sorry, but this is a lovely print. 35mm print photo. David Jones, who was on our last podcast, sent this to me as a gift for coming on. And did you get one? Good. It's not favoritism then. And mine's got Ryan Longman on it, obviously. So, what's it of? Is it of just the stadium?
It's of the stadium. It's a very nice picture. Yeah, very good pictures.
Yeah. So thank you very much, David, and he can come on again, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So last thing to do, QPR away next week. What are our predictions? Will, do you think maybe a score draw or maybe 0-0, maybe 1-0 QPR, something like that?
Last time we played them, it was 3-0.
Oh, yes.
So who knows?
It won't happen again.
The case might finally break.
It might. But so 3-0 will go in that. You can change. No one would think less of you.
I am sticking to my guns.
Okay. And?
I think it'd be quite a cagey game, this one. I'm going to go 2-1 City.
Joe?
I don't have no faith in a clean sheet anymore.
Exact same as Ant. I was just thinking. I'm going to say 2-1. I don't think a clean sheet will happen, but I can see us scoring, and we'll go with that.
Okay. Will, are you still top of the prediction leaderboard?
I haven't been top for ages. It shows you how often you've been checking up on it.
Oh,
I think
well,
we're second or third bottom.
Who's top? It's not me, is it? Oh.
It's Mr. Rose on 2 fan up there.
You're second, I think.
I thought Adi
I'm
was second.
something like that.
You're
I might
a
be
point
third.
behind me.
I'm gonna
Someone's
go
got
2-1 Hull.
So everyone else
No.
is picking 2-1, right?
You got the same
Okay.
as me. So even if it's the correct result, you'd still be behind me.
Yeah, but see, I forgot what you'd said. I'm gonna go 2-2. We've had a lot of 2-2s away from home. We've had 2. I'm gonna go 2-2. 2-2. Desmond. That's what I'll say. Pretty mixed week. 4 points from 3 games, pretty much average when that happens, and still in the
Is there any
playoff zone.
changes anyone would make for QPR?
Who would you? What, Slater in maybe? But who for?
I'd bring Christie out.
That's the one I was about to say. The other one I'm going to consider is bringing Christie out, putting Coyle back to right back, putting Greaves back to left back, and bringing McLaughlin in.
Yeah, for an away game, that might be good.
Get a chance at some point, but I don't think
I do, but I just do not see it happening.
I don't. I think he'll play against Birmingham in the FA Cup, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
But even then, Vinagre might be back by that point, so he might not even play.
I still think he'll play fair line. I'll give him his one chance.
Watch him have the game of his life, and we'll have found an absolute gem.
Just taking too long to get that to that point.
Saying that, the one time I've seen him play for the 21, it was awful.
Oh well.
Sorry, James.
If you're watching.
To be fair, he wasn't the only first teamer out of Mare that night. Lockton conceded 6.
I'm just trying to think of a pun about like a long amount of time and furlong.
A furlong is a distance. You do. Just do some distance thing.
He's got a long way to go then. I don't know.
For a long time to get his debut.
Yeah.
There you go. You said it there, and you said it so immediately.
I'm giving Joe the opportunity to do one instead of me.
I'm the king of disgusting puns, so if you ever want one, I can come up with something.
I might challenge you on that title.
With the level of Nathaniel's punnage, I don't think we needed more.
Yeah, quite possibly. But yeah, so Ant, Will, Joe, thank you very much. Good analysis as always. And everyone who's been listening and voting or liking, or retweeting, sending abusive comments to me via email, all of that stuff, if any method of engagement. I mean, I've never had an abusive email, so please be the first. I mean, no one knows what my email
I'm
is,
guessing
but
you're not counting.
you can find
I'm guessing you're not counting the ones I send you daily then.
Those must go straight to my spam then.
Fair enough.
So yeah. All of that, thank you very much, and we'll see you again next week.